Onze eerste spreker is Fredrick Mugira, a journalist from Uganda and coordinator from the Water Journalist Africa platform. He sees himself as an eyewitness of climate change. And Fredrick, please tell us how you see the relationship between climate change, security, and what the UN Security Council should do about this. Please, you have the floor. One question before we start. You arrived this morning, no?
Yes.
Okay, you can stand over there. What's it like to come in from Africa and be between the ice blocks here?
Well, it's a bit scary. These are things we don't usually face, you know. Yeah.
The floor is yours.
Okay. My name is Fredrick Mugira, as he has said. I've been writing about climate change and water for the last 15 years. I've seen the effects of climate change on communities, most especially in Uganda, where I come from, and several other countries. I had a network of journalists in Africa who write about water and sanitation. We're about 50 countries, and we have 700 journalists in this network. What I'm going to present to you is sort of my experience about stories to do with the climate change. You will realize that the story about climate change is real. I don't know how you guys look at it, but for me, as a person who has been writing about these things for the last 15 years, the story about climate change is real, and it is very, very real in Africa. This image, I took it in Kenya, in a place called East Pokot, and as you can realize, the story about climate change is not just the change in climate, but the effect of what the communities are feeling. You can see this lady. She's not able to get water because of the drought. And for several years, she's been having nothing to drink. You can see the kids behind. This is a picture that will tell you truly that the effects of climate change are felt on the ground. I will take you to Uganda. This is a picture I took in Uganda about 2 years ago in southwestern Uganda. You realize this is a road, but due to flooding, the cars and the people, couldn't pass here. I just want to show you this, that something is not normal. I hope you realize something is not normal. This and when it comes in as climate change, when climate change comes in, it is sort of like a risk multiplier. These are communities that have poor roads, and if, for example, flood is coming, what you expect is the worst. We did a story. This was a member of our network, Water Journalists Africa. He did a story in Ghana about communities that are being submerged. You will realize that about 50 communities, around here about 50 houses, have been submerged by because of the rise in the sea level. You find families have nowhere to stay. Houses are vanishing. These small stories will tell you that climate change is real. And I strongly believe that the story about climate change is not the big picture. There are small stories that make the story about climate change. And these are the stories I'm giving you. But what comes with these small stories you have seen? The increase in natural disasters, as you have realized. So as this happened, the governments in Africa, and several other governments, of course, developing countries, start spending on how to control these disaster. I mean, they are spending on disaster reliefs, and this is the money that would have gone to, to health, to education, but now these governments are spending on disaster reliefs. It's not just spending, but also you can see death. This will let you know, will show you the cost of climate change. This is how governments in Africa are spending on climate change. As I told you, this money would have gone to health, would have gone to education, but part of it is now going to disaster reliefs, which means more poverty. I want to give you an example, a story that we worked on as Water Journalists Africa, a story about the Karamojong. The Karamojong are traditional nomadics. They keep cattle, and so they keep moving in their communities. But their community in northern Uganda is faced with drought. Communities have no water. So these pastoralists usually move to Kenya to find water for their animals and for their families. And what comes with this is increased conflict as communities fight for the resource, for the water, and also the grass for their animals. Because the area is so dry, they are not able to stay there, and they have to move where they can find water and pasture. And in most cases, if they don't find it, it results into conflict within the communities where they are able to find. But as you will realize when you go to another slide, it is not just the issue of water and pasture. It's a big issue. What happens to a community that fails to find what to eat? Probably you are likely to see migrations. This slide will show you how communities in Karamoja are moving, especially youth are migrating from Karamoja because of the dry season, because they are not able to get what to eat, and then they go to cities as far as Nairobi in Kenya. They go to Kampala and also Kinshasa, the capital state of DRC. Some of you who have been to Uganda, you well know that there are so many street kids from Karamoja who are begging on the streets of Kampala. And this story behind this, climate change drives it. Yes, they come to beg because they have nothing to eat. And as you see the story we did in New Vision, their parents usually send them to the streets to find for them probably money and send it back to their communities so they can have what to eat. It does not end there. What happens when they come to the city and they fail to get jobs? As you can see, some of them end up being housemaids. Others look for casual work. If they're not able to get it, probably they are likely to turn into a threat to communities. These are guys, who you find on the street, robbing, things of that nature. But the other story I wanted to share with you is the story of refugees in Chivare refugee settlement. This is in southern Uganda. This settlement holds about 16,000 refugees, some of them from DR Congo, Somalia, Burundi, Rwanda, etc. What the first thing to think about what drives them from their countries? Yes, you may look at it as a war, but what causes that war? Is there a multiplier for this? Are they fighting for resources? And probably when climate change came in, it reduced on the amount they would be having. But what happens in this image? The persons you see here are refugees. When they moved to southwestern Uganda, they fought with the host communities. These houses you see are for the host communities, these ones. But the refugees think that the host communities took their land. So they are now fighting to take back their land. These you see are banana trees. And so they came in and cut down the banana trees. I hope you see the issue of land conflicts between refugees and host communities, the competition for the available resources. And in this case, what is available is land, and the refugees think that this should have been their land. See, you can see now what happened to this family. This was a house for a local community. The community is housing the refugees, and the refugees are demolishing it. I hope you are able now to see the conflict in this story. I want to show you another simple story, a story about an island. This is a story I'm working on. I got, last month I was in Zanzibar, and I had an interview with officials there who had climate change committees, and this is the story I got. This small island, you see, it is called the Island of Pamba. This is Pemba, and then they have Pemba Kwanza, something like that. So you can see about 1,500 people live here, around there. And now, because of the sea level, the rise in the sea level, these communities are about to be submerged. The data I got from the Vice President's office is that these communities will be relocated in about 3 months. So they are going to leave their homes and be relocated to either to Pemba or be brought down to Zanzibar or taken to mainland Tanzania. You can see what this means. I mean, you are losing your homes, you are losing your families, probably others will be taken somewhere, things of that nature. The other story is the story about the Ugandan, the gorillas in Uganda. I did this story last year. Well, I took about 3 months investigating the effects of climate change on the gorillas in Bwindi Impenetrable National Park. This is in southwestern Uganda. Probably some of you guys have visited this. I wanted to find out how climate change is affecting them. And I realized that the rise in temperatures is affecting their food. So they still have food, of course, but plants are not flowering, or they are flowering at a reduced rate. And then what comes with this is a conflict between gorillas and communities living close to the park. Because now if they can't find food, they are bound to move to the communities living around. So these communities are not able now to plant what they wanted, especially bananas, because they will be eaten by the gorillas. You will realize a big conflict between the gorillas and the human beings living around the park. So what should happen? I strongly believe that either the UN Security Council or member countries should therefore advocate for recognition that climate change is a man-made disaster. Yes, We are contributing towards it, and we must find a solution. We have to put a human face to climate change. How are people affected? Let's not look at climate change as a story, but look at it, how it is affecting communities, how individuals are affected. And then we'll know that, yes, it is with us, and we must find a solution. Advocate for building institutions, structures, and other mechanisms to prevent such violent conflicts. Well, we can have, for example, commissions. We can have committees set to make sure that we find solutions in case violent conflicts start. Promote regional cooperation to deal with migration. The recent statistics indicate that about 17 million people moved out of Africa last year. Well, they may not have moved because of climate change, but it tells you a big story about migration, and probably the multiplier is climate change. Promote risk reduction strategies, including water harvesting technologies. Either the Council or member countries, they can do this. Promote risk reduction strategies, including irrigation facilities. If communities have enough water, if communities are able to harvest water, to plant, have what to eat, so food security will probably keep them there without moving. They will have what to eat. Oh yes, that's what I have for you. Thank you so much.
So, are there any questions from the audience for Fredrick before we move on?
I hope you ask in English, or if you don't, I can put on my...
No, they will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know, what does the term climate justice mean to you? What does it entail?
I'll take the mic. Or you can take it, yeah.
Okay.
It works.
It depends on how you look at it, but to me, and especially to the community where I come from, it means fairness when it comes to the causes of climate change. Yes. Looking at it from the contributors' side of it, who is bringing what that is causing climate change?
CO2.
Yes, yeah. That's right.
One more question? Yeah?
Yeah.
As long as you're not starting about Shell.
It's just a short question about, as we speak, there's a great international lobby going about, especially led by small island states, who want to put ecocide on the list of the Rome Statute, and just like genocide. And I would ask what your opinion is about that. Ecocide on the list of the Rome Statute.
Can you ask again?
The Rome Statute.
The Rome Statute. It's the list where the International Criminal Court is leading on, where genocide and crimes against humanity is a crime. Yeah. But small island states are now lobbying internationally to put ecocide on the list of 4, so we can ask the responsibility of polluters like Shell and other people who are big, who have a big involvement in the climate change, to get them really to the court.
So let's bring them on in front of the judge, the polluters.
Yeah.
That's what the small island states. What do you think about it?
It's very important, of course. The polluters have to pay for it. It's very important. Yeah, because you see, countries, probably, there are several countries which are suffering without contributing. Yes.
Okay, Fredrick, thank you very much. We have to move on with the program. Thanks. Take your seat, please.